Tonight, in our Deep Dive 1, we are looking at the India-UAE ties on firm ground, on firm footing. This is a strategic partnership that is weathering all times. And as Prime Minister Modi was in the UAE, there were some very strong MoUs that were signed. One of them, in fact, two of them, regarding LPG and petroleum reserves. But that's just one part of it. We look at the strong foundations of UAE and India ties. And what does that mean in a world where war is defining economics and defense? Our deep dive 2, ladies and gentlemen, is around the man of the moment in Kerala. We're talking about V.D. Satheesan. He went and called on the leaders whom he addressed as gurus. One of them was Ramesh Chennithala. Others, the former Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan. What does this man now hold in future? The challenges before him, we look at it threadbare, as he has one of the big challenges before him really is keeping the unity pitch in place. Our third deep dive is going to be about the reading recession among children. It's not just India, it's not just United States. Countries across the world are increasingly seeing their young children turn away from reading. Why and what must you do? Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the UAE has delivered a major boost to India's strategic and energy interests at a time when global oil markets remain volatile amid the ongoing conflict in West Asia. Prime Minister Modi was given a grand ceremonial welcome in Abu Dhabi, with his aircraft escorted by UAE fighter jets as he began the first leg of his high-profile 5-nation diplomatic tour. During his visit, Prime Minister Modi held crucial delegation-level talks with UAE President Sheikh Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, with discussions centered around energy security, defense cooperation, investments, and regional stability. Well, there have been several major agreements which have been signed between the two countries. India and the UAE have signed a framework agreement on the strategic defense partnership, along with key memorandums of understanding on strategic petroleum reserves and long-term LPG supplies, strengthening India's energy security architecture during a period of global crude price uncertainty. Both countries also signed an MoU for the development of a ship repair cluster at Vadinar in Gujarat. In another major announcement, investment commitments worth $5 billion were unveiled for Indian infrastructure projects, as well as investments in RBL Bank and Samman Capital. The agreements underline the rapidly expanding India-UAE partnership, with both nations aiming to significantly deepen cooperation in trade, logistics, energy, defense and technology. The UAE remains one of India's most trusted energy partners and among the top foreign investors in the country. Earlier this year, both sides had set an ambitious target of taking bilateral trade to $200 billion by 2032. Prime Minister Modi also reiterated India's strong support for UAE amid regional security challenges. In fact, Prime Minister condemned the attack on the UAE during the war between the United States and Iran, saying this was unacceptable.
Brother, हमारी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप को निरंतर नई ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचाने के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूं। जनवरी में आपकी भारत यात्रा के दौरान हमने आपस में सहयोग को क्वालिटेटिवली अपग्रेड करने पर सहमति जताई। इतने कम समय में भी हमने सभी विषयों में उल्लेखनीय प्रगति की। दोनों टीमों के बीच भी करीबी संपर्क रहा। आज जिस तरह की परिस्थिति है, इसमें भारत और यूएई की स्ट्रेटेजिक साझेदारी, इसका महत्व कई गुना बढ़ गया। हम आने वाले समय में हर क्षेत्र में साथ मिलकर के आगे बढ़ते रहेंगे। आपसे मिलकर के मुझे सचमुच बहुत खुशी हुई है। ब्रदर, जैसा मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा है, यूएई पर हुए हमलों की हम कठोर निंदा करते हैं। यूएई को जिस तरह निशाना बनाया गया है, ये किसी भी रूप में स्वीकार्य नहीं है। ब्रदर, इन कठिन परिस्थितियों में आपने जिस संयम, करेज और विजडम का परिचय दिखाया है, यह बहुत ही सराहनीय है। राष्ट्रीय एकता, सुरक्षा और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता को बनाए रखने में आपके नेतृत्व में उठाए गए कदमों का हम अभिनंदन करते हैं।
And I'm being joined at this point by Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, who is a former Indian diplomat and West Asia expert. I'm also being joined by Major General Sudhakar Ji, defense and geopolitical expert, as well as Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, who's a consulting editor with the Business Standard. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me. Well, Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, very crucial time. A lot has been spoken about Prime Minister Modi's five-nation visit, as it were, but very visible, tangible outcomes from the visit to UAE. But it also has a larger context, and that's India-UAE ties have always been on very firm ground. But how do you look at the recent developments?
I think the credit should be given to Prime Minister for reinventing, reinvigorating Indo-UAE ties. Since his first visit in 2015, this is his 8th visit to that country. And before 2015, there was a 34-year gap in which no Indian Prime Minister set foot in that country. So you can see the difference. This is not indeliberate. This is to have a solid assessment of importance that bilateral ties can play in India's own future in the Look West strategy. UAE happens to be our third largest trading partner, first country with which we signed a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement in 2020, which has been replicated many times by both sides. And bilateral trade today is this year, last year, 2025-26, has crossed $100 billion, making it third largest trading partnership between India and a foreign country after China and USA. More than 4 million Indians live in that country, and they remit estimatedly $25 to $35 billion every year to India. So this all put together with the investments which are substantial, $22 billion in all so far, but remain below par. UAE has a sovereign fund of over $1 trillion, so it's just 2% of that figure.
Right.
Now, the bilateral context is one aspect which Mr. Modi has fortified with this short stopover. Defense cooperation agreement is a new dimension, and Prime Minister in his short remarks mentioned that within 4 months of President Sheikh Zayed's, Mohamed bin Zayed's visit, this has been, letter of intent has been converted into the agreement itself, the details of which would be awaited.
Right.
But I believe that this would be
Absolutely.
a new groundbreaker.
Absolutely. Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, if I can get you in. a lot is happening domestically as well. In fact, across the world, if you look at it, a lot is happening when it comes to fuel prices and curbs that are coming in. But back home, there's a lot that happened. There's a 3 rupee increase in fuel prices, as it were. There's been increase in commercial LPG cylinders as well. A lot on that front. But how do you look at what's been sealed in UAE about the supplies of LPG? Also the petroleum reserves, how the role for the UAE, the state-owned company there, their roles have been expanded in Indian reserves. How do you look at that, all of this in the context?
Yeah, the big thing out there is, as you rightly said, two issues. UAE obviously would want to sell as much LPG and as much oil to India as possible. Given the Strait of Hormuz impasse, that doesn't look very promising as of now, and that's not something which India or UAE would have wanted. So two things that comes out. One obviously is that whether UAE can give India a strategic reserve. That's a very big thing. UAE has promised earlier, and I suspect some work on that is possibly in the offing. If that happens, then that's a very big change for India. It actually bolsters the rupee. A 90-day reserve is actually the basis on which a currency flow sort of becomes a float. A capital account convertibility comes in. India right now, on an average, our to Padur and the other reserve, we have about 6 days reserve, and that's not really nowhere. So 90-day reserve, basically what UAE has promised it earlier, and I suspect some amount of stronger word on this thing would be happening. So that's what we are looking up to. It's definitely in the works. And the second thing is that UAE has walked out of the OPEC. So UAE would want to deepen ties with India to develop a new oil business cartel. This is very significant. It is something that UAE is working on. And if in the process, UAE exchange oil market, if in that market, India gets a foothold as a strategic investor again, so would be a very major signature. I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming days or weeks we hear something. Either of these two would be very big, and given the India relationship between India and UAE as very strong, as rightly been pointed out, in fact exceptionally strong, I would not expect this to be remiss, and in which case it totally changes the rupee, oil, Gulf matrix considerably. Yes.
Absolutely. In fact, Major Sudhakar ji, while we were just talking a while ago on our screens, in fact, we can play that up again. You had the F-16s escort Prime Minister Modi's plane, for that matter. A whole lot of talk around the defense deals. In many ways, what is being said is that this partnership is unprecedented when it comes to UAE. How do you really look at this? Because a lot is being spoken about UAE in terms of oil, in terms of LPG, in terms of Hormuz. But when it comes to defense, I still remember the last time when you had MBZ drop in to India just about for a few hours, and that special treatment that was given to him with Prime Minister Modi welcoming him personally from his plane, as it were. A lot was spoken also about defense, close ties, strategic ties. How do you really look at it? Major General Sudhakar ji.
It's okay, no issue. I heard it to be major, but I'm Major General. Now, before I respond to your question about the defense agreement, a very quick reflections on what is happening. Why India has gone to UAE so rapidly, so many things are happening, and good things are happening, good for both the nations. You see, first and foremost thing, I would say that midterm elections in USA is round the corner. It's very, very important. It has got overriding dominance and importance in all the global activities. Number two, the behavioral matrix of Donald Trump is also driven by this midterm election because his popularity is going down by every day. And he's got hosts of challenges in the domestic constituency, whether it is Epstein file or the ICE attack, or you talk about Venezuelan crisis is not been taken very kindly. And the Republicans themselves, I would call it, as in America is actually witnessing a thing called as political civil war. More on it if time permits. But this is in the backdrop, and therefore I would say that there is a shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics. This is a very late realization, and America is trying to adapt to it because the country is in thick soup. It has got very, very heavy debt. $39.1 trillion debt means nothing to a common man until it is explained in expressions such as every year America has to dole out something close to 1.3 to 1.4 trillion simply to service the interest. They require $6 trillion to run the country by the minimum bottom line. The generation of revenue is just 4 trillion. There is a huge shortfall of the revenue available to run the country and to progress. And mind you, they have announced $1.5 trillion for the defense budget. This year I'm talking of. So where does the money come from? There is a hidden, unstated objective given to some of the important government organizations that the steady flow of money or the wealth must be ensured. This is what the Federal Reserve Governor and the chairpersons have been shouting from the rooftop for past several decades or so, that America, to stay as a superpower, it has to have steady inflow, and therefore they have been able to identify more than 4 or 5 such kind of spots. One is the defense product, second is the drug money, third is the rare earth element, and fourth is the pharmaceutical, and most important thing is oil. Therefore, they have resorted to a new doctrine called as control and supply of all these sources from where the wealth can flow in. Thereby, the Iranian crisis has been created simply to push back China and also make the entire world order energy security dependent on America. This is to be kept in mind. And last point I have to share here is that the dependency as far as the oil and the energy security has been converted into such an ecosystem and architecture that $71 per barrel of crude, I'm talking about shale gas, in America is the break-even cost. And today the Brent crude oil is costing approximately between $112 to $116 per barrel. Which country would like to go in for an expensive, costly kind of a crude oil? Therefore, 51 to 58% of dependency of European Union countries have changed from what it was there earlier to America. This is just only a small example. And coming to the defense agreement, it couldn't have been more timely than what it is today in the backdrop of Pakistan and Saudi Arabia having signed an agreement, a mutual defense agreement. Whether it actually materializes in favor, whether it has got that clause, Article 5 of NATO alliance alike, or whether Pakistan really comes to substantive security and safety of Saudi Arabia, time will tell us. But at the moment, what is happening is that UAE has been selected by us, by India. It couldn't have been actually better timed than what it is today, because we have close to 4 million Indian diaspora there.
Right.
UAE is one of the countries in the Middle East, only country which has got coastline to Persian Gulf as also to Gulf of Oman.
Right.
The one which is to the Gulf of Oman, it gives an exit and entry point bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. And third and most important point, it is not only the oil, it is a technological superpower in the Middle East. It has got the startups technology in the ecosystem. It has got the oil, and it has actually fallen out of OPEC, thereby making it enjoy the freedom of producing anything up to 5 million barrels per day, 5 to 6 millions. If that happens in near time frame, UAE will be able to take benefit of the cost differential, that is 160.
Just one question, Major General.
Yeah.
Are you then saying at a time when even US is looking at China, both of them have had a turn in their ties that's not been there for many decades for that matter, do you see India-UAE ties move stronger, weather the challenges much better, and possibly be even a counter to that move from the United States?
Absolutely spot on. You have preempted me. Actually, I was coming to this point. What is happening in China is not something which will make America to glamorize or, celebrate. For all you know, Donald Trump may come back with nothing,
Right.
nothing, virtually nothing. But with that backdrop, let me tell you that as per my take is concerned, there is an effort on part of America to go in for G2 or bipolarity,
Right.
not multipolarity. China at the moment is not prepared for bipolar world. They are looking at rejuvenation of China Middle Kingdom by 2049 or earlier than that.
Right.
However, America has given out an indirect and direct indication in the strategic document of 2025 November that you do whatever you wish to with Taiwan, but don't ever dare, do anything across the Atlantic towards
Sure.
Monroe. So therefore, what it comes to is there is a shift in the strategic alignment. It's not going to have overnight, but the indication signatures are pointing towards that. Russia is a different chapter. So when in the backdrop of this happening, perhaps India, not perhaps I more.
I want to take a leaf from you on this. It's very interesting. Prime Minister Modi did not mince his words. He condemned the attack on UAE. He said that India stands with UAE. And this is happening even as the BRICS meeting is underway in India. You have countries, including Iran, their delegations, Arakchi being present here. How do you look at that? You know, this is coming also at a time when you've had, whether it be Iran, whether you have Russia, both of them have come forward and said when it comes to long-term mediation, India is a very strong player. How do you look at Prime Minister's words positioning in UAE?
I think the words are quite categorical. They place India and in the tent of UAE to start with, without actually naming Iran.
Right.
So we are trying to have a tightrope walk. I think the care also needs to be taken because UAE is not without detractors. Iran is obviously somebody that have taken offense to UAE. Their karmas go a long way. 50 years ago, when in 71 UAE was being formed, Iran under Shah had taken over 3 islands, and these islands are still disputed. They are at the mouth of Strait of Hormuz. Secondly, the UAE's relations at the highest level
Right.
with Saudi Arabia are not too good. These may be family tensions. They are all members of the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, but Pakistan and Saudi Arabia together, India and UAE together, do make slightly uneasy context. So we would have to be careful. What Pakistan has signed with Saudi Arabia is different, apparently, from what we have signed with the UAE, and we are far more responsible and stable partner. Then you also have United States, which has strong ties with UAE.
Right.
Although UAE is not fully satisfied with what United States has done to defend it. You also have Israel. By being the first Abraham Accord partner with Israel in 2020, UAE has marked itself, and it has earned detractors, including the Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis, and some others, Muslim radical elements, etc., who do not want to see Israel normalizing relations with anyone. So all that put together, our steps taken are carefully thought, and they cater to oil for security paradigm,
Right.
which is in the Gulf. But we need to be extremely careful and that this should not become a non-cost effective relationship for us. Thank you.
Right. Shubhamoy Bhattacharya, your last reactions, your last comments on what's unfolding the next few days. That's going to be very critical for India, not only in just what India is looking at getting from whether it be UAE or other European countries. It's also about how India is positioning itself. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, in these sort of things, the deals which are often made, the most significant deals, are never made public at this stage. So the best ideas and the best information and the best things will actually be under wraps, rightly so. He talked about the two things, which is that oil reserve, and the other one is about getting India as a partner in the UAE market. For post OPEC UAE, these are the two biggest lookouts. India obviously also wants investments from UAE, and UAE is more than happy to bring it in. There's a third part of it, which both the ambassador and the Major General were pointing out, which is that Pakistan has had a very stormy relationship with UAE. So India is looking at an India-UAE axis. Remember the IMEC corridor, India-Middle East Economic Corridor, goes through India, UAE, Israel, and then further on into Europe. So there is a lot that India has with UAE. And all of these, however, are in work in progress, which means basically the two countries sort of are like hugely two strategic partners for each other.